Some leaders leave footprints, others leave libraries. You're tuning into the Authors on Mission podcast, where industry giants become literacy legends. In every episode, we talk with authors who turn their brilliance into books that transform lives. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, your host and Chief Creative Officer at Authors on Mission. Welcome to your authorship experience. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Authors on Mission podcast, where we empower writers to become experts in their field. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, Chief Creative Officer at Authors on Mission, and we are in for a special treat today because this is round 2 with Dre Baldwin, author of The Third Day and many other books. On our last podcast, we explored his powerful third day philosophy about showing up when others don't. Dre shared invaluable insights about discipline and structure and maintaining authenticity through platforms. But today we're going to kind of pick up on our conversation because we started to get into a really cool conversation about AI and the way that it's shaping the industries. So today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that because, as technology reshapes our industries, we have to keep adapting to that. And I think that we're going to have a lot of great things to talk about here in regards to how it's shaping the writing world and many other places. So without further ado, welcome back, Dre, to our podcast today. I'm so excited to have you back.
Hey, Danielle, thanks for having me back again. It must have been good the first time.
Yeah, we had an amazing conversation. I think that it really taught a lot of information to our viewers. And yeah, I'm really excited to kind of pick up where we left off. Before we begin today, I'm wondering perhaps maybe, for any of our listeners today who didn't watch the first episode, if you don't mind giving a really quick overview of who you are and how you came across the Third Day Philosophy, your first book, your most recent book, and like a very brief recap. Give everybody a little overview.
Background as a professional athlete, played basketball professionally overseas for almost 10 years. Started to build a brand through YouTube videos back in 2005. And stopped playing basketball in 2015. But by that point, I was talking about the mindset aspects of basketball as well as the playing aspects. The mindset aspect kind of hooked me into an audience of non-athletes, which encompasses the audience I have today. That led to me working with a lot of business professionals, salespeople, and entrepreneurs, which are my main clients to this very day. And part of what we do these days in my company, which is called Work on Your Game, which again pulled from my athletic experience and just was moved into the business and professional development world. Books are one of our offerings, along with coaching, speaking, consulting, etc., sales training, and all those things. And I've written a lot of books. I've always been a big reader and a big writer, and that's pretty much how we ended up having our first conversation and this one here. And as you mentioned, we were talking a little bit about technology and where that might be taking the publishing and writing world, and I think we're going to talk about that amongst other things here today.
Yeah, well, thanks for that overview. I think that's, a great way to sort of start things off. Everybody listening now knows all about your background, the impressive things you've done. And, if you're interested in checking out that podcast, everybody, you definitely can, because we dive really deep into his book and his philosophies, and we'll probably touch a little bit more upon that today. But first things first, it's important for us to kind of dive right back into our conversation about AI, because I feel like it's something that I can talk about, endlessly, because it's really affecting all of us, whether or not we wanted to, right? So, my first question for you, Dre, we began our conversation last time, kind of branching off of that. How do you see sort of AI tools changing the publishing industry in recent years, right? For me, I'm seeing people, bringing out books, on a rapid pace, whether or not they're good quality, bad quality. Have you experienced that, in your own life and your own experiences, where AI has just been transforming things incredibly?
Being that I do a whole lot of writing, I was excited when I saw AI coming out, and I knew text would be anything text-based. AI is really good at right now. So you look at a chat GPT, or even apps like Google, or even Apple's trying to get involved. Anything that's text-based, AI is really good at, as opposed to, compared to, let's say, video-based or audio-based. And I was excited to take a look at it on the written side because I saw how well it could kind of write things. I've had clients try it. I've introduced clients to ChatGPT, and they were like blown away, like, man, it's writing the whole article for me. And I heard about some software, and I'm not going to name here because I'm about to say some negative things about it, that said it can write a book for you. It'll write the whole book for you. All you have to do is give it whatever amount of information you want to give it, click a couple buttons, wait a couple minutes, and boom, a book pops out. And I was excited to try this because I have so many ideas for books that I tell people this all the time, Danielle, I'm going to run out of time before I read all these books in my lifetime. I won't get them all out of me. At least, well, let me not say that. I shouldn't speak that. But I have a lot of things I want to get out that I just don't have the time to sit and write all of them. So when I heard of AI, I said, if this can actually work the way that I want it to work, I could be putting out a book a day if I really wanted to. And then I tried the software and it sucked. I did not like it. And the reason I didn't like it is not because it didn't actually write the book. The issue is, for a writer of my caliber, and I say this humbly, I put a lot of my personality into my writing. And I put a lot of personal anecdotes into my writing, and a lot of my communication style is in my writing. So when you read a book of mine, you can hear me saying it at the same time that you're reading it with your eyes. You can kind of hear it in your mind. And I believe any good writer, that's how it should feel. If you've heard them talk, you should hear them talking when you're reading their stuff. But when I read what the AI book software was able to create, I said, this strips all the personality out of the book. And it's a little bit too, not a little bit, it's very generic, it's a little bit too cookie cutter. And here's the kicker is, if you're a seasoned writer and you've been writing and you've written books before, that won't work for you. But if you're a person who doesn't write at all and you can't write, and it would be a pain for you to even sit down and try to write a chapter, let alone an entire book, AI is a step up for you, but it's a step back for somebody like myself and probably like many of your clients that you work with. So it really just depends on your personal experience. But for me, I realized very quickly, as soon as I plugged into the software and I tried to get it to produce one book, I said, okay, this is not going to work. I got to do it the old way, and I had to actually write the book, which is no problem for me. It just takes time, but there's no shortcut to that. Not the type of book that I want to produce.
Yeah, I mean, I like that you drew upon both positives and negatives to it, right? Because I think that's really what it's all about, because there's so many aspects that it is positive for, right? I mean, like responding to a quick email, for example, or coming up with just like
correct.
a recipe for dinner, right? Like whatever
Exactly.
you might throw it into there. But yeah, I mean, having that human aspect, that personality to it, it's definitely something that it lacks. And I guess, the reason you could say that is because, by nature, AI is kind of like drawing upon the existing pool of information that it can from the internet and whatever its databases has been given. So, it's been given other people's writing and it's kind of just pulling from that, but maybe not necessarily yours and your voice. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's something that I have to do all the time when I'm writing with many clients these days who hand me these AI written manuscripts, and they either claim they wrote it all their own, or they're honest and they say no, like the program wrote it. But either way, it requires a lot of humanization to bring it to that speed. So I guess, yeah, so branching off of that, what has been your experiences when you said it didn't quite sound like your voice? What did you do after that? Like, did you continue sort of editing it, or did you scrap it all together? What was your strategy?
Well, I still have the files. I haven't done anything with it. I still got the Google Docs files and the PDF, so I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I will have to go in. I'm going to have to do a whole lot of maneuvering to get it to look the right way. Or what I might do, I think what I might do is eventually, once I put the systems in place, is I'll take the few that it did created maybe like 10. I think I got like 10 credits. And I'll use those and I'll put it out and say, hey, this book was created by AI. So if you read this and it's not quite what you expect from a Dre Baldwin book, I may use it as like a bonus. Like I may use it as let's say somebody buys a product from me or joins my coaching program. I'll put that in a care package for them and just put it in as a bonus with the other stuff that they bought. So it's kind of like a throw in. So the thing that I tell people all the time is that as an entrepreneur, you want to have as many assets as possible. So it's still mine. It's still sourced from my IP, even though it doesn't sound the way I want it to sound. And I'm thinking the shortcut to me even taking the time to edit it, because I could just write it myself and be 10 times better than anything the AI produced, is I might just have it done, get it finished, have a actual product that I can put on the shelf, and then I'll just use it as a bonus. So I'm selling a course or something. Hey, here's one of your free bonuses. Here's this book that was written by AI based off of my IP. So the good thing about the line of work that I'm in is I can find ways to use anything, even if it's not amazing. I won't charge people for it, so nobody can complain about it. So that's what I think I would do with it moving forward. I don't remember what your question was.
Yeah, that was the question. Yeah, like finding a way to use what you've done with the AI in a productive way. And that's actually interesting. I haven't thought about it that way. Like if you blatantly like label as, I use the program to write this, it served its purpose and it's getting the information across, that's what it's for, right? It might not be, the next best-selling book, because of its narrative structure, but it has your points in there and it's getting information across, and that's all that matters. I mean, it's great that you're still able to use it and advertise it as such. So, one thing that you mentioned in our last podcast that I found interesting is that, the idea of editing, using AI as editing tools, right? You kind of advocated saying like, maybe it's not good for the creative aspect, but maybe for more technical things.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, for one, our listeners who haven't seen the other podcast, and also just sort of, to branch off of that a little bit?
Yeah, so AI is really good for ideation. It's very good for that. So if you just need a bunch of ideas, let's say you just need to write 50 articles about book writing, and you needed to know the 50 biggest mistakes authors make in writing books, you go to ChatGPT and ask it to give you 100, it'll give you 100, and they'll actually be useful. And if you haven't written anything, probably 75 of them will be articles you should write. And if you've written a lot, maybe 25 of them. But it is very good for ideation. It's very good for black and white things that are more objective based. Things that are more subjective and they have some personality in them, AI is not there yet. I believe AI eventually is going to get there. I think maybe within the next 10 or 20 years, there'll be an AI clone bot for every human on the planet. So I believe AI, there'll be a time when you can take all the content you've ever created, plug in your YouTube channel, your LinkedIn, every profile, everything you ever created on the internet, plug the links into an AI bot. It will download everything. It will learn your personality, and then it will be able to talk and type and write and speak just like you. So things like personal coaching may be replaced by AI within the next 10 to 20 years, because it'll basically take any question anybody could ask me and it'll answer the way that I would answer based on knowing how I've answered questions like that in the past. So I think it's coming to that point, but it's not there yet. So as far as answering your question, I think AI is good for more objective, more bland, more, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but in that direction of things. But if you need to put your actual personality in it, and your personality is what people expect when they read your stuff, it isn't sophisticated enough to do that. So people who are seasoned, experienced writers, or you want to put a stamp on yourself out there with a book you're about to put out, you still have to do it the old fashioned way, so to speak. And you got to sit down and actually write the damn book.
Yeah, you actually have to sit down and put your fingers on the keyboard, right, and actually get something done on your own through your own mind to get that. That's funny, because before, on our previous podcast, we both kind of agreed that that's what AI is valuable for, right? That the soft skills, that is something that humans still need to bring to the table.
Correct.
So yeah, branching off of that, I mean, what of these soft skills is something that you think is going to become more valuable as these automated tools increase, right? Like, what do we as people trying to write books or entrepreneurs need to hold on to as, this becomes more of a popular tool?
Every soft skill.
Every
single one of them. Yeah. There's not a single soft skill that's going to be replaced by AI. And the reason why this matters is because, AI it is artificial intelligence, and it's a computer being programmed by humans. But you cannot program soul into a computer. You can't do it. And soft skills are about the personal touch that comes with what you do. It's not just what you do, it's how you do it. Not just what you say, is how you say it. Because you could get Danielle in front of a room of 5,000 people and say something, the audience will laugh and love what you say. And if I come up right after you, the exact same audience, say the exact same thing that you said, people will not receive it the same way, because we're different people. How you say things and how I say things are different. And AI is not going to be able to quite replicate the human touch, because human beings, we all have a sixth sense for the energy behind a person's actions and the energy behind a person's words. And AI is not going to be able to ever replicate that. And this is why I tell people, no matter what line of work you're in, AI is coming for your job in some way, shape, or form. But the more soft skills you develop, the less replaceable you are. And that's what I tell people this all the time. If you're doing something that requires no soft skills, you are going to be replaced within the next 5 years. You won't have a job. A computer's going to be doing your job. You're going to be out of a job. So you have to develop some soft skills that can't be replaced. And one of the best soft skills you can create or have or build and invest in as an asset is who you are as a person and how people feel about you as a person, because they need to get a certain message from you in your way, even if there are 10 other people giving the exact same message, because they want to hear it from you, and there's a certain touch that comes with it. So that's the answer to your question here. When it comes to soft skills, there are none that AI will ever be able to replicate.
Yeah, thanks for that. I mean, you're right. in a way, being yourself and being a human in general is a soft skill. And I see what you mean
That's
by
right.
that, right? That's something that, a computer, they're just an algorithm, they're drawing from all this other content. Whereas, yeah, I mean, we bring to the table just the aspect of that heart, that personality, that passion behind it, whereas a computer is just doing what it's told to say. And I guess that has a lot to go into content creation, something that you're, heavily involved in, right? Because if you try to get AI, for example, to be like, write my next YouTube video for me, it's probably not going to exactly give you what you're looking for, right? It's more so like the way you take that content and then, add that tone and that emphasis to it. And you mentioned, you have to keep developing these soft skills and stay relevant. What kind of strategies would you recommend to anybody listening right now who might be thinking like, oh my goodness, like my job's probably going to be replaced by technology? Aside from, developing soft skills, is there anything specific and actionable we might be able to do today?
If your job's going to be replaced by technology?
Yeah, or just like to just prepare for the fact that it's, AI is, continuously embedding itself into everyday life in ways that might negate what we're currently doing in our roles.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's going to negate it. It'll actually make it better for the people who know how to control it and how to use it, and it will eliminate the people who don't know how to control and use it and are being encroached upon. So what I would say is two things. Number one, learn what the soft skills are. I did a whole series on this. I wrote about it and talked about it on YouTube, but I talked about the 21 key soft skills. These are all abilities that are developable. Anybody can learn them. And again, they aren't based on book knowledge. They aren't based on having a certain degree or credential or qualification. They're just people skills, human touch skills that anyone can develop if you focus on developing them. And the other thing you can do is learn how to use, control, and direct artificial intelligence. So instead of it competing with you, you are controlling it and is working for you. That's what anyone who's in a space where AI is coming into your domain, you just need to learn how to use it so that you're not getting replaced by it. And that's actually another soft skill in and of itself, Danielle, is the ability to learn new skills and the ability to learn new tools and the ability to control them. That is a soft skill because your mind has to be open enough to putting yourself back in the position of being a Luddite, being a person who doesn't know much about a thing, but willing to put the time into learning it so you can learn how to control it. Because what's happening with AI right now is that everybody is aware of the concept, but most people have no idea what it does, how it works, or why it works. They are just susceptible to what it's doing. So if you can become one of the people on the other side of the fence, so to speak, who knows how it works, why it works, and you can start making AI work for you, you can create systems where AI is actually helping you, then you're in a more of a power position to where AI becomes a tool for you to move forward rather than something for you to be worried about moving forward. Does that make sense?
Oh, it totally does. And the way that you're talking about it makes me think that you might be one of those people who are leveraging it in a way that, maybe other people aren't. Like, for example, are you using
Absolutely.
it to help you with marketing or balancing, your own efficiencies in day-to-day tasks? So, for example, what are you using it for right now that perhaps, any of our listeners might be able to, be inspired by and perhaps implement themselves?
Excellent question. So I create a lot of content. So sometimes I need to record some new episodes for my show. My show is a solo show. So I need to come up with material. I'll go to ChatGPT and say, hey, give me 50 possible topics for a solo episode that is on a show that's based on, or ChatGPT, you can program it, but I'll tell it that's based on my show, which is about mindset and personal development and professional development. Give me some high level things. They can't be too cookie cutter because I got 3,000 episodes. I've probably already talked about the first things you would think about, and I'll ask it to do that. Or I'll say, give me 50 topics on current social issues or current events, and then I'll pick through, and usually it'll give me a couple good ones depending on the prompt, depending on the quality of the question. Another thing is, let's say that you're working with someone who has not done a lot of writing. They haven't created a lot of content. AI is fine for them to use because it at least gets them started and it at least gets some momentum built up for them because they don't have a baseline to go off of. So what I said earlier in this episode about the AI book writing software sucking, I want everyone here to take that with a grain of salt to understand I've written 40 books. So if you haven't written any and you haven't put any articles out, then AI generating software might be very useful for you. It may be a step forward for you from doing nothing. But for someone who is seasoned, then it might not be so good. So take that, again, for what it's worth based on your situation. Another thing you can use AI for is it can do a whole lot of content creation. Let's say you need to send a bunch of follow-up emails to someone who came through one of your sales funnels. Those don't have to be super customized. They don't have to be super they don't have to have so much of a personal touch, if you know what I'm saying. So I go to ChatGPT and say, hey, somebody comes through one of my funnels. I want you to create a 30 email follow-up sequence that's spread out over the next 180 days. Put a label of which day each email comes out, give me the subject line and give me the email, and make sure you're not saying the same thing over and over again. Make it a little bit funny, make it a little bit tongue-in-cheek, put a joke in there every now and then, and make sure you put a link back to the funnel that I want you to send them to. It will do that. It will create exactly what you ask it to do. So the power of using AI these days is all about the prompt. So you talk to anybody who does anything with AI, you know it's all about the prompt. The prompt is simply, for those who don't know that language, what are you asking it to do? Because it will do whatever you ask it to do, but if you ask the wrong question, it produces garbage results. So you have to learn how to ask the right questions. That's a soft skill also. Asking the right question is a soft skill. And AI is good at doing exactly what you tell it to do. So those are some ways that anybody can start using it right now, whether you're doing it for writing, ideas, or anything else.
Yeah, thanks for those tips. I think that's something that, everybody today right now can actually like pause our podcast and give it a try right now, like open up ChatGPT and just try, giving them more detailed instructions to it, right?
Correct.
So one thing also, in addition to kind of asking it the right questions, I think another part of it is to train the AI bot as well. I mean, you mentioned earlier on, one day we'll be able to feed all of our LinkedIn and YouTube videos into AI and it'll know exactly everything about you. But based on what we know about it, that's something we can even try ourselves right now. I mean, just train that, single chat to know a little bit about you. And, for example, you just said, like, I want this to have jokes and lead back to my content. The more you throw in there, the more it'll kind of learn and know. It is still really faulty, though. I've seen people try to do that and it just ends up repeating the same concepts over and over, or using like words that come out of nowhere. But and in theory, if you train it correctly, that's also perhaps another strategy too.
Yes, it's possible. The thing is, it takes a lot of computing power. So you're probably going to have to really train it the way you want it to get. If you want to get anywhere close to what you want, you're going to have to get the paid version of whatever AI bot you're using. And one thing I've learned recently about AI is that it uses a lot of computing power. So that's an issue that still needs to be solved by technology geeks who are above my level of technology understanding. But as they figure that out and the cost of it, the computing power comes down and is more efficient, then it will be more available to more people. But just like everything else in life, the early adopters, the people who jump on it first and get control of it, they're the ones who are going to basically take all the money off the table, metaphorically speaking. By the time the everyday person, like your parents, catch on, is late already. All right, so you want to catch on before everybody else kind of understands how it works and what it does.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, getting ahead of the curve and knowing exactly how to leverage it to your own use is kind of like you've been talking about. It is something that we're going to be able to benefit from in the years to come in the changing industries. And I love before, you mentioned again, drawing it back to book writing and using it for your own purposes. I mean, you've written so many books, and of course it's because of the, a lot of it's because of the assistance of AI in terms of, thinking of ideas and content creation. One interesting fact is that a lot of authors these days come to me and instead of just kind of, talking to me about their book or, jotting down points themselves, a lot of the time they'll even hand me just like an AI written, here are my ideas, based off what I told it to say. And my role then is to take it and find a way to humanize it and find a way to make it sound like them. So I feel like that's in a way like just another industry here that a lot of people are going to, be able to use too. A lot of people want to write books, right? And one service that I offer and that, authors I think is great at is to kind of taking that and humanizing it. I mean, we don't use any AI when we're writing ourselves here at Authors, but we do kind of, sometimes clients will hand us that kind of AI content and we help it become their own writing in that way. Like you mentioned before, adding jokes, adding their own tone. I mean, just another way that we can leverage the industry and kind of basing it off of the editing that we're talking about before too. So.
Yeah, and it's getting your personality into it. So when you do some editing work. So I hate book editing. I do enough that I need to do, but people who like to do editing, then yeah, they can go and weave the personality into the book. I'd rather create the rough draft is going to have all the personality in it, and then all we're doing is cutting out what doesn't need to stay in the book. That's my process. I'd rather write 200,000 words and trim it down to 50. I don't want to take 50 and then try to make it into something that is not that wasn't already baked into it from the beginning. That's my issue with the AI generating AI book generator that I tried to use a few weeks ago. But I think these tools will get better over time. And like I said, 10, 20 years from now, when there's one that can actually speak in your language and tone and use the words that you actually use, and they can tell your stories, now that'll be a whole different world. But we're not there yet.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's progressing every day. New things are coming out. It's learned, like the systems are being trained day to day, even as it is. So, as you said, a couple of years back, this wasn't even a thing, right? Like I remember when I first heard about it, I was like, wait, what's going on here? And I remember there was this story about, this one AI bot, and somebody was talking to it, and then it started reading out like love letters to the person. It sounded all creepy at first, and people were like freaking out, like, why is this robot like saying like, oh, I'm in love with you to the human, right? But it turns out now, and we all know why, because it was just learning from responses that it had been trained to say based off of other content that it had learned, right? So just goes to show that we didn't know a lot about it then, but we're learning more about it now, and it's just going to keep developing. And in terms of writing and industry, it's the more we know about it, the more we'll be able to leverage it to our own advantages, like we've been talking about. So yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, well, given all of this, we have amazing tips here that we've shared with our audience about AI and how we can leverage it to writing and our industries and our businesses. Before we go today, I guess I also kind of want to draw it back to you. You have this amazing third day principle that you brought about in your book and we talked about last time. I'm wondering, that whole book was about, kind of taking the point between success and mediocrity, showing up when others don't. I wonder, in any way, do you think that applies to our conversation today in terms of AI, perhaps like in terms of leveraging it, or, and how can we apply it to that? What do you think?
Artificial intelligence is a tool. So it's another tool in the toolbox for anyone out there in whatever space you happen to be in. So the third day is all about showing up and giving your best effort when you least feel like it. And to use a tool, you have to give effort. The tool doesn't always work by itself. You have to kind of give it a job, and you have to follow up on the job, make sure the job is done properly. And then there's some human aspect of the work that you're probably going to have to get involved in. So how third day connects to AI is the same way that the third day connects to the weights in the gym. The weights don't lift themselves. So you still have to show up to the gym and actually lift the weight. So it's the same thing with artificial intelligence, is that, as we talked about, over time, artificial intelligence is going to get pretty good at doing the rote task, the repeatable tasks that don't require real much human thought. It's going to replace the need for humans in those spaces. The next level is you being a person who is programming and controlling the systems that the robots, the AI, is operating on. When you're the one in control of that, think Amazon. With they're going to be having drones deliver packages. There won't be any more Amazon delivery drivers. If you can control the drones, now you are empowered by AI as opposed to being a driver who is threatened by AI. So you just got to get yourself on the right side of that. And the third day is all about, how do you stay in the game and keep trying to figure out, how do I put myself in that power position, as opposed to sitting there and watching yourself get removed from the power position, or the useful position. It's not even power, but a useful position as of right now when it comes to the things that AI is threatening, such as the checkout register person at the grocery store. All right, they won't be here.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's, inspiring for everybody to just keep in mind right now today. And, as we're starting to wrap up, I think that's a great piece of homework too, just to keep that in mind and try to find ways that we can implement this into our own lives. I mean, starting right now, starting as soon as we finish today, because it's something you need to stay on top of and continuously innovate. And we can't just sit back and let the world change without us. We have to continuously learn more about it. So, Dre, as we start to wrap up, I'm wondering, do you have any last pieces of advice that you might want to share with our audience today in terms of either AI or the writing process, or anything in general? Any last thoughts? What do you think?
Artificial intelligence is this next wave thing that over the next 10 to 25 years, everybody who's alive today listening to this will be able to say, I was around when this thing was just starting. And you're either going to be saying that as in a happy way, like, I was around when it was just starting, I jumped on the wave and took advantage of it, or you're going to be saying it in a lamenting way. I was around when it was just starting, I did nothing, and now I'm behind the curve just like everybody else. So this is a thing for everybody to jump on, everybody to take advantage of. All of you see it. All of you are experiencing it. Every one of you has been on a website sometime in the last 2 weeks where some bot popped up and said, how can I help you? I'm AI powered, so ask me any question and I'll answer it. All right, that's AI. You're dealing with AI right now. All right, many of you have been to a grocery store where there used to be 20 checkout lines. Now there are 4 checkout lines manned by humans and 20 self-checkout lines. That happens at Walmart, happens at Target, happens at Whole Foods. They're all doing it. You've been to a McDonald's that used to have a bunch of people at the register to take your order. Now you do your own order on a little board, and then one person brings the food. They're replacing humans with this stuff. And where you want to be, again, of course, you don't want to be the human who gets replaced. You also don't want to be the human who sits idly by and watches everything happen. You want to be the human who's in control of the systems. And when you get control of the systems, now you're in that power position. So this is a getting in on the ground floor opportunity for every person listening to this. All you have to do is, first of all, figure out what your area of knowledge and or expertise is, that where you know something better than the average person knows it, and then figure out, ask yourself, how could I put myself in a power position regarding artificial intelligence combined with my domain knowledge professionally or entrepreneurially or whatever expertise you have. And if you don't have any ideas how to do that, here's a good idea. Go to ChatGPT, tell it what I just told you, and pop it in and say, give me 50 ideas. ChatGPT will give you at least one that you can go to work on today.
Thanks so much for sharing that. I mean, I like that you also, kind of put this into a real world, everyday perspective, right? Because, a lot of us, right, we're always using it for writing, but I mean, just the idea of, ordering at McDonald's, you're using that automated system, right? So it's everywhere we go, it's everywhere we look, from just like the emails I get from my coworkers that I know are obviously written by AI to, those chat bots, like you said. It's everywhere, and we need to continuously adapt. So yeah, an amazing and last piece of advice. Thanks for that.
Of course.
Well, hey, I mean, thank you so much for joining us again on this podcast. I think we had a lot of valuable insights for our listeners today. And to all of our listeners, this concludes our 2-part conversation with Dre Baldwin. Our first discussion about the 3rd-day principle had a lot of insights about his strategies, and now we've talked about the future of publishing and AI. And Dre continues to challenge us to adapt while staying authentic. He's given us amazing tips for thriving in the AI-driven world while, also being ourselves, keeping our unique voice. So remember to check out the 3rd day and to follow Dre's content for more insights about personal development, adapting to change. And also, if you're interested in writing your own book, even if you have some AI-written ideas, Authors on Mission is an amazing resource for that. We're able to work with you whatever stage you're at, whether you have an entire garbage or robotic AI written manuscript that you need brought to life, or just some ideas that AI has, given to you. Authors on Mission is there to help you bring it to life also. So remember to check that out, and also stay tuned for more podcasts. And until then, keep writing, keep innovating, keep showing up, and we'll see you next time on Authors on Mission. Have a great day, everyone. This is Danielle Hutchinson reminding you that somewhere, someone needs the book that only you can write. Visit authorsonmission.com to start your legacy. Until next time, keep leading, keep inspiring, and keep thinking in chapters. Have a great day.